Toby.
Welcome back to the N.y.a show. Get the sound right, baby. Get the sound right. Get the screen right. Because I got some of everything that's popping up in front of me. As I, of course, started off with Spirit, the rest of the short film by W3 Film. They star my beautiful wife. Please be sure to head to YouTube, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. All of those great things, as well as when you're at while you at it, because our links will be below. How Mothers Bounce Life and Pursue Dreams. The interview at Breyonna and Thomas by Ajay Tambe. That is also available via Spotify down there for all my. Even if you don't have a subscription, hit the link and it'll definitely go to the Spotify and you'll be able to learn more about my wife and her acting career. So please be sure that you do that. Trump says he doesn't want to do another debate with Kamala Harris. May not be the best thing for you. We'll come back to all this eventually. What, in November? I'll have to revisit all of these words and see if anything would have made a difference or not. But that was my last story. Trump says he won't do another debate with Vice President Harris. Please be sure that you check out that story. Leave your comments because I would like to know. I would like to hear from you as well as we jump into this other story that's still related to the country, backbone, the spine, or whatever you would call the United States, which is the imports, the cargo, ever since the beginning. Remember, cargo imports. So here we are with a potential port strike, a dilemma for Vice President Harris. Major supply chain disruption weeks before November election could hurt her presidential bid. And let's dive into why this is so important. A dock worker strike along the U.S. coast, the East and Gulf Coast could endanger Kamala Harris' presidential bid, said retail and transportation leader. The International Longshoremen Association said that it plans to strike if the contract demands are not met in the West Coast ports, represented by the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, has pledged solidarity. Now, I've heard that when they say contract demands are not met, I've heard from people in different areas around ports, different carriers, they're like the demands are high for what they're asking for. Take that at, take for what you want. Like the demands are high when they said there will be a strike if the demands or the contract demands are not met. And I've been told that the demands are up there, but they can still be warranted. That's why the Biden administration will likely work behind the scenes to try to hold this situation down. I think someone in the administration like Labor Secretary Julie Su or Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is going to do something soon behind the scenes, maybe tell the ILA to tone down the rhetoric. Michael Hansen, Senior EVP of Public Affairs for the Retail Industry Leaders Association, told FreightWaves on Wednesday. I can't gauge exactly what the union will do, but Harris does not want that kind of economic headache before the election. I don't think anybody wants what comes with any type of shutdown when it comes to the ports. The ports, I heard if the port shut down for like a day, that's like backing up the port for a week, you know what I'm saying? Just because of so much work that gets missed last 3 days, which the last day they could be in our ports before we charge. If all the port workers say, yo, we on strike and nobody's there to do anything, one day sets us back a week. And if this continues on, everybody that has to depend on the brokers of the country, the customers of the country, the people that are in the middleman, everybody in that whole ecosystem is a big chunk of voters, big chunk of the U.S. population. All of those jobs and that money gets affected when we're not running freight through this country. It's just a simple thing. If during COVID, if freight would have ever stopped, if the drivers ever got off the road during that time period, would have been a real shutdown. But thankfully, all the truck drivers put their masks on, did whatever they did, and they kept driving, and they didn't shut down the ports. Port workers, the port workers worked through that and kept the country going. So I'll never forget that either. LA's members, which include retail giant the Home Depot, Walgreens, Best Buy, Target, have already begun shipping cargo to the West Coast ports in anticipation of the strike, which could occur at the end of the month if an agreement with the port terminal employees is not reached by then. I don't exactly who and what percentage, but they're moving it, Hansen said. But who can really gauge that? How much is actually being moved? How much is actually being moved over? The bad optics of what this will look like like I said, the bad opposite. What does it look like during the presidential campaign? Right in the middle of it, that type of strike will bring way too much attention. It'll really shine on Biden, but in a race where you're trying to be disassociated with Joe Biden, I would say you don't want anything that really ties you back to him. See what's going on while President Biden is the president, and then they tag your name right along with it because you're the vice president. Recent polls have shown that Harris' rival for the White House, former President Donald Trump, beats her on the economy, edging out Harris 52% to 48%. It's a worrisome sign for Harris because the economy is often considered the top issue in voters' mind as they enter the voting booth. It's clear that the Democrats don't think the economy is their strongest card, so a big economic story coming out that cuts against the stability of the economy will look very risky for Harris. Like I said, more so Harris than Biden because everybody looking at Biden is he the president still? Is all on, oh, this is they're making her take. Whenever it's all bad, they want her to take the credit, and then when it's something going good, yeah, I want you to attack yourself too. Avoid a Taft-Hartley. What the administrator and by extension Harris wants to avoid is waiting until it's too late and using provisions of the Hartley Act to declare a national emergency, okay, and force the union back at the bargaining table. That'll, if there's a strike happen, that'll force them back. But how? Such a move would undercut ILA's leverage in negotiations with the marine terminals and risk alienating general union support before the election. I don't see the Biden administration implementing the Taft-Hartley. Ron Lieberman, a transportation supply expert at the law firm McCarter and English, told Freightways in an interview. I have to be very clear. This is not a political statement. I am not a political person. We are in an election where union votes count, and I don't think anyone on any side would take any action that would be viewed as anti-union. Now, if everything gets shut down and they have no choice, I think the Biden administration will help mediations 100%. It's a lot of pressure that's mounting on this during this time. You don't want the TV talking about strikes taking up. If they start taking over the news about strikes and the whole country is talking about a big strike that's going on that we don't necessarily see the resolve in, and somebody's able to pay for ads doing all of that different coverage and say how you're bad and this is happening because of you, that's not a good look or anything that you want when we're getting super duper close to the end of the election. I mean, to our voting day in this country coming up in November. So you don't really want anything big like this taking over. It's like when it's like COVID in a way. You don't want a COVID to pop up, or you don't want when we had a rail spill, was it a year or two ago, when in the middle of Biden's presidency, if I'm not mistaken, the big the CX, there was the rail, the carts fell over. It was like hazardous. It was all these chemicals in the air. Everybody had to leave the area. That happened, and you don't want any of that happening near elections because everybody just points the finger at the president. In this case, the president is looked at as the vice president, and when we're trying to go back and forth to see who's going to win the White House. So y'all let me know what y'all thoughts on this because most people don't even know what I'm talking about when I speak about the ports. The ports are right on the coast of this country, this great United States, on the coast, on the East Coast, West Coast, your bottom coast, wherever you can get a boat in. And they're bringing in cargo, your TVs, your electronics, your frozen food, all your shrimps, your lobsters, bringing all of that stuff into the country. And if for some reason the people that work and unload these containers and all this shit say, you know what, y'all not meeting our guidelines and we need to go to the table, we're going on strike, it slows up the delivery of all of those products and items, and it's not a good look for the economy as we head into November. So let me know what y'all thoughts are on this. This is the N.y.a show, and I appreciate the continued support. And we'll be right back with another show. Because keep watching everything that I've been putting out on YouTube and continue to share and subscribe. It's the N.y.a show.